introduce him before he starts presenting, just so we know, where he's coming from, what his experience has been. So Mohsin started poetry and rap at the age of 10. He learned rap from the likes of Humble the Poet and Qadir Latif. He has performed and recited as a guest poet at various poetry slams and rap competitions over the span of the last 2 decades. He has led numerous poetry and rap workshops targeted for the youth. And after graduating university with an honors in philosophy and religious studies, he spent 4 years pursuing studies in the Hawza in Qom. Through those studies, he gained an interest in studying classical Persian and Arabic poetry. And his objective with rap is to incorporate elements from various poetic art forms to enhance his versatility. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Mohsen. Really looking forward to this workshop, and I hope everyone is able to benefit from this too. Mohsen, take it over.
Thank you, Naqib Bhai, for that introduction. So inshallah, we're going to be starting something unique that I think is needed in the communities of English poets. We're going to be talking about rhythm and poetry, or as we like to call rap. Now, rap in itself is an acronym for rhythm and poetry. Now, I know there's a lot of stigma or maybe a negative connotation of the concept or the poetic form of rap. Because with the common conception, that music is supposed to be associated with it. That's not necessarily the case. And we're kind of going to be breaking that misconception today, and really not just looking at rap as what we think of it as today, but actually understanding the poetic elements that are incorporated within rap, and then going from there, inshallah. So we'll get started. So elements of rap. And we're gonna have kind of break down the segment. So the beginning portion is more so going to be about the theoretical concept of rap and the elements incorporated. And the second half is going to be, inshallah, we're going to be focusing on exercises and kind of a collective effort to work on some things that we learned. So when we think of rap, we need to think of it as poetry that's associated with a rhythm. So those of people who have kind of looked into classical poetry, whether it's in Urdu, Arabic, Farsi, there's always a rhythm and balance that's incorporated to it. And we see classical elements of rap being classical elements of poetry that are incorporated in rap. So there's many elements of rap, but we're going to be going through three major elements that I think that are very important. One of them is rhythmic speech, right? Rhythmic speech is just a fancy word for learning how to rhyme, right? When we have a rhyme scheme, we want to know what other things rhyme with that thing, what sounds similar to that. The second thing is flow, or as we say, the cadence or the delivery. I would say 50% of rap poetry is knowing how to deliver, because as opposed to classical poetry, spoken word, it's something that you can read in a book. You can do that with rap, but it doesn't really give the same effect. And the reason being is because it needs to have a flow. There needs to be a certain type of delivery when it comes to that. And the third element that we're going to be looking at for today is the lyrics, right? You can't have any type of poetry if you don't have lyrics. And so we're going to be discussing some techniques as to how to formulate your lyrics as well, inshallah. And feel free to stop me if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything you guys want to add. Nothing formal. So if you guys want to add anything, just unmute yourself and you guys can speak, inshallah. So rhythmic speech. So within rhythmic speech, there's 4 elements that we're going to discuss. The first one is bars, right? A bar is technically just one line of that poem or of that rap, and we'll get into that. The second is rhyme scheme, learning how to rhyme. What are some things that you need to know, or techniques you need to know to rhyme other things in your poem or your rap? Number 3 is syllables. Within rap, it's very important that everything needs to be balanced. Everything needs to sound in one rhythm, and therefore, in order for it to sound in one rhythm, you need to have the appropriate syllables within that one line. And then number 4 is identifying rhyme schemes, right? So how do I know what to rhyme A? If I have a rhyme, let's call it A, how do I know what to rhyme A with? How do I know what to rhyme B with, right? And what are different patterns of rhyming different words together, right? Because as we know, one of the major factors of what makes rap distinct from other poetic art forms is the concept of rhyming, right? So bar. So before we even get into writing a rap or writing your rap poetry, how do you organize it? How do you structure it? Because every poem needs to have a structure. Now, A rap is a bar is referred to one line that's comprised of four beats, right? So now you might be asking, how do you measure a beat? Well, everything has a beat to it. I have a water bottle. I can make a beat from this just by tapping it, right? I have my fingers. I can snap, right? And this is not just with rap. Even classical poets in Urdu, in Arabic, and Farsi, they need to have a rhythm. And in order to write to that rhythm, they will use a beat to get to that, right? It doesn't have to be music, right? Or what you identify as music. It's just a beat. Okay. So each line has four beats. Now the four beats can be at different speeds. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Once I have those four beats, that's considered one bar. Each time this pattern of four beats is repeated, it's called one bar, right? And you go on from there. So each rap is you have to have 16 bars. So as we say, 16 lines, but those 16 lines are comprised of four bars each. And we're going to give an example because there's too much theory right now. So one of the examples that we can use is this is by Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is very famous. When I was a child of writing children poetry, but I actually consider him a rapper because of the uh, organization and the structure of his poems is very similar to what you would see in rap, right? So this is a 4 bar pattern example. You have brains in your head.
Here's
you
what
have,
I found.
Sorry, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know, and you are the person who will decide where to go. Now I use this because it's very simple. We just want to understand. So over here, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. That's one line. That's one bar. This one is going to be the second bar. The third line is going to be your third bar. Fourth one is going to be your fourth bar. So this is a structure of 4 bars each. And as you can tell, at the end of each bar is where you have your rhyme. So shoes rhymes with choose. No rhymes with go. Okay. We're all clear. Can I get some voices? Thumbs up. Everyone's following along.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing. So that was a bar. That's how you know how to organize your rap. Now, rap, what makes it distinct yet again is not complete without rhyme schemes. You have to know how to rhyme. That's what makes it distinct. That's what makes it so special. Now, as we see within rap, the rhymes or the rhyme schemes are typically placed at the end of each bar or at the end of each line, right? Now, the rhyme scheme that you can have at the end of each bar can either be one syllable rhyme or it can be a multi-syllable rhyme. And we'll give some examples for that. All right. So with syllables is what balances your rap out to make sure that it's on rhythm. Now, as you can see over here in the poem that we discussed before, it's a one syllable rhyme scheme at the end. Why? Shoes is one syllable. Choose is one syllable. No is one syllable. And go is also one syllable. Okay. And we're going to be focused on one syllable rhymes because this is just an introduction of getting into know how to get a good rhythm or get to know a good rhyme scheme. But then you also have something called multiple rhyme schemes, right? Multi-syllable rhyme schemes. Now, this is a bit more complex, and it happens when you kind of get more practice into rhyming words with different words. So this is from a piece from a few brothers that are actually my friends from UK. They're called Seven Concept. And I grew up listening to them because really inspiring, and they have amazing poetry on the Ahlul Bayt, and just concepts that are very intriguing and deep. This is from their track called "Weak and the Strong." So over here, as you can tell, at the end of each bar, they have multi-syllable rhyme schemes. What does that mean? So we'll read it out loud. Hearts begging for freedom, 2 syllables. Kids begging, we feed them, 2 syllables. Terrorized souls, stand firm, no retreating, 3 syllables. There's a deeper meaning, 2 syllables. To fighting these demons, 2 syllables. So as you see over here, at the end of each bar, you see a multi-syllable rhyme scheme, right? Now, at face value, if I read them as if I'm talking normally, they wouldn't really rhyme with each other because freedom right? If I say freedom, but then I say feed them, that doesn't really rhyme, right? But this is where the aspect of flow and delivery come in. You have to say it in such a way where you make it rhyme, right? So over here, if I'm reading it as if I'm rapping this, I would say hearts begging for freedom, kids begging we feed them, right? I'm saying it in such a way where it's rhyming with freedom. Then I say terrorized souls stand firm, no retreating, right? So over here, the retreating, I'm saying it in such a way where it's rhyming with freedom and feed them. And then what makes multi-syllable rhyme scheme so important and special is that you don't necessarily need to add it to the end of each bar. They can also be in the middle, right? So there's a deeper meaning to fighting these demons, right? So the multi-syllable rhyme scheme, it can also come at the beginning or in the middle of a bar. Now, you might be asking, why would someone want to do that? This is a specialty of rap. This is what makes it so effective. When I have rhymes in the middle and in the beginning and in the end, it makes it more effective. It makes it more powerful. And it kind of shows your skill as someone that is well versed in writing rap, right? So those are multi-syllable rhyme schemes. Hope that's kind of clear, inshallah. So yet again, going, you know, based off the rhyme schemes within a bar, as we said, typically the rhyme schemes or the rhymes are at the end of each bar. But if I want to be a bit fancy, I want to kind of humbly show off as a rapper, I'm able to fit those rhymes in the beginning and in the middle of them as well. So over here, this is a piece that I wrote where and I'm talking about a concept where I'm trying to get close to the Ahlul Bayt. I want to be accepted by the Masumin, but I've sinned in the past. I've made mistakes in the past. But I know the Ahlul Bayt are always giving me an opportunity. And so I've kind of taken that concept and put it into this multi-syllable rhyme scheme. So over here, I'll read it out slow, not the way I would want to deliver it, but I'll read it a bit slow just so it's clear where the rhymes are happening. So, and I've highlighted in red as you can see where the rhymes are happening. So I'm keen to be seen by the 14 beings, but the scenes from my past keep haunting my dreams. So I beg and I plead to my Lord and I scream, show me the grass on the side where it's green. So as you can tell, I'm having multi-syllable rhyme schemes, but and I'm also having rhymes within the bar. But the most important thing that I'm not letting go of is the 4 beats that we discussed. Each bar needs to have 4 beats. So to match it out, let's see how it sounds like when I'm delivering it. So I'm keen to be seen by the 14 beings, 4 beats. But the scenes from my past keep haunting my dreams, 4 beats. So I beg and I plead to my Lord and I scream, 4 beats. Show me the grass on the side where it's green, 4 beats, right? Now, the reason why I'm clapping it at that tempo is because that's the tempo I decided to wrap this at. If you want to have a slower tempo, you can have a slower tempo, but you would just need to know how to pronounce those words, where to breathe, where to stop, and what type of flow you need to have. And inshallah, we'll discuss that in the slide where we talk about the flow. What's really important within rap is you want to make sure you don't run out of breath. As soon as you run out of breath or you don't know where to stop, your rhythm and your flow will not be successful. You will not be able to pull off one rhythm. And rap is all about rhythm, right? So over here, the place where I'm pausing is I'm keen to be seen by the 14 beings, but the scenes from my past keep, breathe slightly, haunting my dreams. So I beg and I plead to my Lord and I scream, stop. I take a breath. Show me the grass on the side where it's green. Why did I decide to take such a big breath over here? The reason being is because number one, I can't say all these 4 bars in one breath. Number two is this is my punchline. Show me the grass on the side where it's green. This is summarizing these lines. And so when I pause over here, the audience is waiting for something big. Okay, he paused. What is he going to say? Show me the grass on the side where it's green. I pause there because I want this line to be effective. This is the punchline that I want everyone to recognize, that this is the summary of all these 3 bars. Okay. Anyone have any questions? If you want to stop me, anything that you want to add, everything clear. I hope I'm not going too fast. Let me know, inshallah. I'll take that as
I had a quick question,
yeah,
Mohsin, about the you said the tempo. So is the tempo also controlled by the beats? So would the beats
yeah.
be like more than or less than 4 beats if you want to change the tempo?
It'll always be 4 beats. It's just dependent on what the 4 beats are going at. So we'll get to that actually. That's a very good question. And we're we'll get to that whenever we come to the flow, inshallah. Number four is identifying rhyme schemes, right? Every rhyme scheme within a rap is based on a specific pattern. Now, the reason why you need to know different rhyme schemes is to understand how many rhyme schemes you want in 4 bars, right? And it allows you to diversify your rhyme scheme, right? You don't just want the whole rap with 16 bars. You want to make sure that it's not just one rhyme scheme, that you're kind of diversifying and showing a bit of versatility. And one example of that is there's 3 different rhyme patterns that I'm going to introduce today, and inshallah, there's many more. Feel free to look them up as well. But these are 3 main rhyme schemes that we see within rap. The first one is a mono rhyme. This is one that we use in classical poetry, but it's also very prevalent in rap. The way it is that every rhyme at the end of each bar has the same rhyme pattern. It sounds similar, and basically we call it an AAAA rhyme scheme. An example of this is yet again from my brothers from Seven Concept, a very beautiful piece that they have about the Ma'sumin, and using them as a wasila to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they say, peace upon the 14 elevated lights. A. Peace upon the souls in the middle of the night. A. Rise in submission to the architect of life. 3. A. Connected to the energy with everything inside. A. So as you can tell, every rhyme that's coming at the end of each bar sounds the same. It's rhyming. A. Another thing to keep in mind, as I keep emphasizing, because a lot of the things that I see poets struggling with is that they're trying to find a similar sounding rhyme. It has to be spelt the same at the end. It has to sound the same. That's not necessarily the case in rap. All right. This will help you, inshallah, where try to pronounce certain words in such a way where they have the potential to rhyme with a previous word. So for an example, over here, when I say life at face value doesn't necessarily rhyme with night. But what I've done is I've kind of stretched it out at the end, and I've slurred the end to make it rhyme. So, peace upon the souls in the middle of the night, rise in submission to the architect of life, right? You see how I didn't say life? I didn't emphasize on the F. I kind of made it slur a bit so that it rhymes with night. And the same thing with inside. If I say life and inside, you'll be like, okay, Mohsin, that doesn't necessarily rhyme. It doesn't at face value, but because I pronounced inside in such a way, it does end up rhyming with life. So how would that sound? We say connected, rise in submission to the architect of life, connected to the energy with everything inside. Right? I'm not saying inside. I'm saying inside. Okay, that's a good element that I like to use when I'm looking for rhymes, rather than going on a rhyming dictionary on Google. Another rhyme scheme, that was a mono rhyme. The other rhyme scheme that I think is very helpful is something that we call an ABAB rhyme scheme. An ABAB rhyme scheme, as you can see, is where the first bar and the third bar rhyme, and then the second bar and the fourth bar rhyme. So over here, the concept of this is basically where I'm trying to convey to the audience that because of the deceit of this world, because of the sins of this world, I've become blinded metaphorically. And now I'm just going with the wind to see where it takes me. And wind is kind of representing my spiritual life. And so I say the wind takes me in such a way and takes me through such paths that the end of life, the true meaning of life, is this morning for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. And so the way I represent this in the lyrics is, and keep in mind the rhyme scheme as well, which is the focus over here. The wind takes me where it needs me to go. A, but I'm blind with deceit, so I can't see the way. B, just like the wind, I pass every road. A, where the blind gain vision as they cry for Hussein. B, right? So this is it's not too crazy. It's not too complex. It takes a bit of time to practice, but yet again, it makes it something it makes you diversify with your rhyme schemes. And yet again, keep in mind, road and go at face value don't rhyme. But if you notice, I kind of said road a bit softly, right? I slurred it a little bit, road. I didn't say road, right? And therefore, because of me saying it that way, it rhymes with go. Yet again, same with way and Hussein, face value, they do not rhyme, right? They do not have the same, they do not end with N, both of them. But the way I said Hussein, right? I kind of said it in a very soft way so that it matches with way. So that's an A B rhyme scheme. So that was the first section, which is rhyming, right? Getting to know how to rhyme. Yet again, there's so many different techniques, but because of time, we won't be able to go through all of them. That was rhyming. So in rhyming, we learn number one what a bar is. A bar is used to organize your rap and your poetry. Yet again, a rap consists of 16 bars, and we organize them in groups of 4. Okay, and then we also got to multi-syllable rhymes, one syllable rhymes, and having rhymes not only at the end of each bar but also in the beginning and the end. And then we also learned different rhyme scheme patterns, right? One was the mono rhyme, then the AABB rhyme scheme, and then the ABAB rhyme scheme. Okay. Any questions on that so far? Naki, I still have your question in mind, and that's going to come to the flow, inshallah. Anyone else have any questions, anything they want to add, anything that, that's a bit confusing to them? Okay. I guess we're all on our way to become professional rappers now, inshallah. The next part, which is, I would say, the backbone of rap poetry, is flow, the cadence, how you deliver your rap. As I said, with classical poetry, with spoken word, you can read it on a book, you can read it on a post, right? On an Instagram post, on a blog, whatever. Rap is a bit different. It's not meant to be read in the same way. It's meant to be delivered, right? Because the reason why rap was actually a response to social injustices that were happening to minorities, especially within America. And now it's all world, it's spread worldwide. And so rap is that thing which is meant to be recited and to have your participation with. Even if it's one person, reciting the rap, there will be people joining in and chanting the words with that rapper, right? Because yet again, it was a collective effort to fight against that social injustice that was happening to them. And so rap came as a response to that and came as a communal effort to express their grief, to express the injustices that were happening to them. And so it's meant to be delivered. It's meant to be recited. Now, there's two main aspects of the flow, or what we call cadence. Cadence is just a fancy word for your delivery, how you make it sound. There's two aspects in the flow. Number one is your tempo, or what we call the rhythm. Number two is intonation. That's a fancy word, and we're going to get into that, inshallah. The tempo and rhythm. So what's the tempo? The tempo is basically the speed at which each bar is recited. So as we said, each bar has 4 beats to it, right? Now I can have the 4 beats at a slow tempo, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I can have it a bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if I want faster, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's really dependent on how you want to have the tempo and flow within your poem. All right. Now, the tempo and rhythm, the reason why they're so important is because the tempo will dictate how many syllables you can fit in each bar. Remember, rap is always meant to have a rhythm, right? And so I can't have a slow beat of 4 and then just fit 50 syllables in there. It's not going to flow properly, right? And then what that's going to do when you set your tempo is that you're able to kind of adjust on how certain words are going to be vocalized, how certain words are going to be pronounced, right? Enough of that theory. We'll get into examples. So we use this piece at the beginning as well, and we're going to use this. And Naki, I hope this will answer your question. So at face value, the way I wrote this is the flow would go at this tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the way it would be recited, as how I meant to for it to be recited, is I'm keen to be seen by the 14 beings, but the scenes from my past keep haunting my dreams. So I beg and I plead to my Lord and I scream, show me the grass on the side where it's green. Okay. But if I want the tempo to be a bit slower, what I can do is that I need to learn where to break up the parts, where I need to make a pause. Okay. Now, With this specific tempo, on a slow tempo, the 4 beats is going to sound something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way it's going to sound, if I slow that tempo, it's not going to sound like how I meant to for it to be delivered. I'm going to slow it down a bit and break up the parts. So it's going to sound like this. Good job. It's going to sound more like, I'm keen to be seen by the 14 beings, 4 beats. But the scenes from my past keep haunting my dreams, 4 beats. So I beg and I plead to my Lord and I scream, 4 beats. Show me the grass on the side where it's green, 4 beats. What did I do? What changed? Number one, my tempo changed for sure. The pace of the 4 beats slowed down. And number two, to fit the tempo, I had to break it up. I'm not just saying it all together. I'm keen to be seen by the 14 beings. So I'm breaking it up, right? Is that clear? Nucky, I hope that answered your question as well. Is a good question.
Yeah, so tempo is more like how slow or fast you do it based on the beat,
Yeah,
but the beat is always going to be four.
the beat's always going to be 4, and then the tempo would just slow down or go faster, and then based off that, I would know how to pronounce each word, where to take a pause, and where to break up the words. Okay.
Okay. One other question, and maybe you're gonna, I guess, answer this and let me know if you're gonna answer it. But you said earlier like the tempo might determine the syllables in each line.
Yeah.
So is that based on like, okay, how many syllables I get in 4 beats at this tempo? It
Yeah.
might be like less or more. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So if I have a slower tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's slower, I have the opportunity to fit more words and syllables in there. But if it's fast, 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of restricts how many syllables and words I can have in there. Why? Because you're talking faster, right? When you're talking faster, naturally, not even when you're reciting poetry or rapping, when you're talking faster, you just need to have less words. When you're talking slower, you can have more words, right? Hope that makes sense. Tempo two
Um,
is what we already discussed, which is
Mohsin, hey, sorry, I have another question.
yeah,
Pretty, I think similar to Nagi's question, but so you had 4 beats in each line in this stanza. Do you have Is
yeah,
it 4 beats in each line?
4 beats in each line. Yeah,
In each line, and is it the same amount of number of syllables in each line?
not necessarily, not
Okay.
necessarily, right? So that's what makes it different from classical poetry as we write in Urdu, Farsi, and Arabic, in which we have to have in which we have to equalize all of the syllables in each line. Rap works a bit different. Sometimes you will see syllables that are repeated. Yet again, there's various poets and rappers that focus on equalizing syllables, right? But there's some rappers that say if it's on rhythm, if it's on flow and fits the beat, I can add different syllables in it, even though they're not equal. All right, great question.
Okay. Thank you.
The mid pace was basically what I did at the beginning, where it was at a medium pace and I recited in one flow. Number two, which is really important in the flow and rhythm, is intonation. Intonation is just a fancy word for the rising and falling of the voice. What that does is that you get to emphasize and de-emphasize certain words, phrases, and letters. So depending on what type of meaning you're trying to convey, where you want to, what words and phrases you think are powerful, that's where intonation comes into play. You get to decide which phrases, which words are important in your poem or your rap. And from there, intonation comes into place. And we'll come to an example for that. So for an example over here, this is a piece I try to write where I have 3-syllable rhymes. So it's a bit tougher, a bit harder. But yet again, if you're able to pull it off and it's on rhythm, go for it, right? Experiment, take those risks. So over here, the arrow that's pointing down, the intonation is me de-emphasizing. I'm talking a bit softer. I'm not trying to focus too much on that word. But the points where the arrows are going up is where the intonation is emphasizing those phrases. So over here, what am I trying to emphasize? I'm basically trying to emphasize these multi-syllable rhymes, right? And the way it's recited is because I'm tired of my state, tired of my ways. I had fire in my veins prior to my change. Now I fly when I pray, high with your praise. 5, light in the day, night they illuminate. So over here, yet again, depending on your tempo, right? Depending on the flow you want to have. Over here, as you can see, it'll sound a bit funny, but it's all for learning's sake, right? So the points where I'm not emphasizing or I'm making a bit softer is kazam, I had, nawa, 5. But where I'm emphasizing it, where I want the audience to pay attention, is the fact that, hey, I was able to pull off 3-syllable rhymes. And number 2, this is the real meaning that I'm trying to get across. I'm not trying to tell you because I had, now I, 5. No, I'm trying to tell you, hey, I'm tired of my state. I was tired of my ways, so on and so forth, right? So yet again, to put that into practice, we make it a bit softer over here. Because I'm tired of my state, tired of my ways. I had fire in my veins prior to my change. Now I fly when I pray, high with your praise. 5, light in the day, night they illuminate. Okay, so I hope that's clear. And yet again, to keep emphasizing the fact that don't always look for similar rhymes. Try to experiment. So for an example over here, prior, if I'm saying prior, doesn't necessarily at face value rhyme with tired, right? But the way I'm saying it, I'm kind of stretching it and slurring it. So tired of my state, tired of my ways. I had fire in my veins prior to my change. I didn't say prior to my change. I said prior. So I let the O and the R at the end kind of slur, okay? Just to make sure that it not only rhymes with the previous words, but it also goes with the flow and the rhythm. That was flow. That was the cadence. That was the backbone of your rap and your poetry, right? So just to kind of summarize, we went through the tempo. Tempo is what the speed at which each bar is recited, right? And you need to make sure it fits the rhythm. We had a slow tempo. We had a mid-pace tempo. I didn't go into the high-paced tempo. That one's a bit more difficult. And I feel like a lot of people over here write more classical poetry. So that high tempo really wouldn't, fit with what you're trying to do. Then we had intonation, making sure you're emphasizing and de-emphasizing words that you choose, that you think are important or might not be as important, right? Number 3 in the final. Yep.
Mohsin, another question. So the annotation, it's also in the same sequence in each line, if you're getting what I mean. Yeah, I see the arrows are pretty much aligned in each line.
Yeah.
It should be, right?
Yeah. So every time the arrow is up, as you can see, it's repetitive. These are the areas where I'm trying to emphasize the words as to why the arrows are going up. And I'm emphasizing it in each bar or each line at the same point, right? Why? Because these are 3-syllable rhymes. Each time I have the 3-syllable rhyme, the beginning of the rhyme is when I'll start my emphasis and just keep going from there, right? So tired of my state, fire in my veins, fly when I pray, high with your praise, right?
And when you end a syllable or a phrase, of my state, my veins, can we say it's de-stressed, or de-emphasized, or rather just going with the flow?
So that's a good question. You can do that. I think this would actually you can pull that off, right? So if I say tired of my state, tired of my ways, right? So yeah, I guess if you want to stretch that out, it's kind of de-emphasized. The way I delivered it, so like personally, is I'm still emphasizing it, right? I'm still making it sound powerful. Why? Because these 3 words, or this rhyme scheme is still rhyming with this rhyme. This is still rhyming with this. Praise is still rhyming with pray, right? So I want to make sure that I'm letting you know, hey, this is a multi-syllable rhyme scheme, and I'm purposely making this rhyme with that. And when I'm trying to show you that I'm purposely making A rhyme with B, I want to make sure I emphasize those points. Every time you have a rhyme, you want to make sure that you're emphasizing those to show them where the actual rhyme is coming. Okay, I hope that made sense.
It did. Thank you.
Perfect. And we'll come up to the last one, which is lyrics. You can't have poem, you can't have poetry, rap, anything without lyrics. Yet again, we're not going to talk about the idea and formulating ideas because yet again, all of you are, mashallah, poets, and you have the ability to think of those things yourself and kind of think outside the box. I want to focus more on the technical aspect of it. What makes lyrics so important, and what are some factors in lyrics within rap? So there's two. Number one is the repetition, and number two is wordplay. So repetition within rap, as we said, rap is always a collective effort. If you actually think of like qasidas and latmiyas or nohas, what's so special about them? Why is it that they always stick in our mind? The reason being is because everyone is chanting the same chorus over and over again, right? Everyone is chanting certain words, certain phrases over and over again. Why? Number one, it's the element of that certain art form. Number two, it's to showcase their importance, right? When you have that chorus, it's to show you that this is the backbone of my poem. This is the backbone of my rap. And because of this, I'm going to keep repeating it, right? And what repetition allows you to do and what rap requires you to do is allow your audience to connect with your lyrics. You want to make sure that you have these elements and these repeated lyrics that become embedded in people's minds, right? So therefore, repetition becomes a very important factor within rap. Now, repetition can happen in words. The repetition can happen in phrases. The repetition can happen even in individual letters, right? Repetition in phrases and words, we know. We recite nohas, we recite qasidas. And in those, there are certain words and phrases that are repeated. But what do we mean by repeated letters? This is very important in rap. And this is a way where you're able to humbly show off that, hey, I have repeated letters, not just phrases and words. And that kind of what shows your in-depth understanding of lyricism within rap. So over here, what I've done is, I'm not looking at the chats. Amazing. Thank you, Noki Bhai, for that comment. Repetition in letters, right? This is inshallah going to sound cool. And I hope you guys are able to implement this within, if you do spoken word, within classic poetry, because it works. Even in Urdu poetry, you see that there are certain letters within the bar and each word that are repeated. And, it gives it that wah wah moment as well, right? So this is something similar in rap. So in this, what I'm basically talking about is the devil's whispers. They can be very powerful and they spread through your body. They spread through your soul like poison. But what is our way to get rid of that poison? Our way to get rid of that poison is to send the salutations upon Prophet and his family. Alayhi salatu wassalam. So over here, I said, the devil whispers in your ears, making all this noise. It slithers in your skin like a snake spreading poison. So we send salutations soulfully through our voices. Okay. So does anyone want to tell me where the repeated letters are or were? What sound is constantly repeated in here?
The S.
Mm-hmm. The S, right? And although it may seem like, okay, you're just repeating one letter, it's fine. But the way I'm delivering it, it shows the emphasis of the word S. And this doesn't enhance the meaning or the depth behind the poetry, but it does enhance the depth behind your lyricism, how you're able to write, how you're able to have a play on words, right? So yet again, the S over here is repeated. It's the concept of the letter of S is something that I'm always trying to repeat and show that repetition within the letters. Yet again,
one thing that sorry to just interrupt you, Mohsin, but one thing that I thought was really interesting in this one in particular, because it's talking about the snake and spreading, and then like the constant sounds of the S almost sounds like a snake hissing. I don't know if that was done on purpose.
That was done on purpose. Yeah, I was gonna get that was done on purpose. Yeah. So yet again, right? Good connection. Thank you for analyzing that as well. It's making this the sound of a snake would, right? And it's slithering in your skin like a snake spreading poison. So yet again, these are concepts that you're able to not only include in rap, but also your classical poetry. Try it out, right? It might make a difference. One thing I'm emphasizing always, don't always focusing on the similar sounding rhymes, right? Don't focus on about if this is spelt the same, if it sounds the same, make it sound the same, right? So over here, I'm spreading noise it is technically one rhyme, but it's two separate words. But what I'm doing is that I'm pronouncing in such a way where I make it rhyme with poison, voices. And the only way I'm able to do that is if I know how to deliver that bar. So the devil whispers in your ears, making all this noise. Slithers in your skin like a snake spreading poison. So we send salutations soulfully through our voices. Right? So the way I'm delivering it makes it sound like that. Yet again, if you're in a mosque environment and you don't want to make it sound like rap, which is completely understandable, you can even say it slowly and it'll still sound nice. So the way I would do it, if I'm reciting it in spoken word style, the devil whispers in your ears, making all this noise. It slithers in your skin like a snake spreading poison. So we send salutations soulfully through our voices, right? So I took it a bit slower, but I'm still emphasizing on the repetition of the letter S, okay? That was repetition within letters. You can repeat words as well. Repetition in words. This is an example. Realize, realize, realize. This is a quote that a lot of people use, and a lot of poets and rappers incorporate this into their poetry as well, right? So these are words that are repeated. They sound the same, but they're actually different in meaning. I looked at the world from my realize and realized the truth covered by realize, right? So this is another element that kind of shows your in-depth understanding of poetry. And yet again, making sure that it's always on rhythm. But the repetition of word, that's what makes it sound catchy to people, right? What will make people relate to your rap and your poetry more. Number 3 is wordplay. Wordplay is one of the most important concepts, right? This is what shows someone's like they're highly skilled in lyricism, right? What it does is that, number one, it shows your in-depth understanding. Number 2, it's there to kind of introduce the person's skill in a certain technique of wordplay. There's a lot of poets and rappers, they emphasize on wordplay. That's what they're known for, that this person knows how to, have a play on words and, make one word have sound the same as another, but it having a different meaning. What it does, it just makes it more memorable to the other person. So an example of this is what we call a double entendre. Double entendre is basically two words. They have this different meaning, but they rhyme with each other. They sound the same. So this is just something about, the politicians that are funding into the occupation against Palestine. And this is something that, just came up with. Yet again, this is not something fancy. It's just something to show as an example. So wearing suits and ties with no common sense. The Nakba, evil has been common since, right? So common sense and common sense, obviously two different words, two different meanings. But the way I pronounced it, they sound very similar, right? Even if you're reciting classical poetry and spoken word, free verse poetry, you can still incorporate this, right? What it does, it gives you it gives your poem and your rap versatility, okay? That was for the double entendre. And yet again, double entendre are not easy to come by. They're very difficult, right? It requires a lot of thinking. But they're very important. They're very effective if you're able to do this. That was it for the lyrics. So yet again, just to have a, just go through it again. Lyrics, we emphasize on repetition. Repetition can either be through words, phrases, or letters. We focus on repetition in letters, repetition words. We also focus on wordplay, making sure that you're able to have a play on words, have fun with it. Take a risk with it. That's what makes it, that's what makes it more exciting. Focus on double entendre, two words, different meanings, similar rhyme. Okay. Any questions on that so far? We're basically done with the theoretical aspect, and I think we can spend just a bit more time with working on something together, inshallah. Any questions on this? On anything, to be honest, with what we started off with? We're good?
Okay. Salam Mohsin, Abbas here, sorry.
Salam Abbas, how are you?
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Good, man. First of all, great job, brother. You can see that you put your work and effort into this. I really suggest that, I think this is recorded, and I would suggest, with your permission, of course, that we upload this onto our YouTube channel so people
Yeah,
can
for
benefit.
sure. No problem at all, inshallah.
Because I know that I mean, there are people that registered. They probably couldn't show up, and I think that anybody would benefit from this. And this is knowledge, man, and this is your salami jari, inshallah. Quick
Inshallah.
question I had for you. And you might have mentioned this. I joined a little late, and I've just been driving and stuff. So
Yeah.
sorry if I'm making you repeat.
Of course.
Is there when you do your lines, like when you write your lines and you write your lyrics, do you follow the pattern of like they say iambic pentameter, like stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed? Like how do you determine the flow so each line is the same? I mean, syllables is easy, but like making sure that each syllable is correctly unstressed, stressed, or is
Yeah.
it more of like the way that you say it type of thing?
Yeah, no, great question. We discussed that. It was under the concept of intonation. Intonation is the rising and falling of the voice and where you decide to emphasize and de-emphasize words, right? Now, yet again, that's completely up to you. Normally, what people in rap do is that they emphasize where the rhyme scheme is happening. So I don't know if you can see my screen, but over here, we showcase these 4 bars where I have 3-syllable rhymes, as you can see, right? Tired of my state, tired of my ways, fire in my veins prior to my change. Now, what I'm doing over here, where the arrow is pointing down, those are the parts where I'm de-emphasizing, right? Because that's not where my rhyme is happening. That's not where my rhyme scheme is.
I saw this. Yeah.
My rhyme scheme is happening where I'm rhyming where I'm having the multi-syllable rhymes, right? Now, poet, it depends on where you want to emphasize. Do you want to emphasize on where the rhyme is happening? Do you want to emphasize on certain words? Do you want to emphasize on certain syllables? Do you want to emphasize on certain letters? That's completely up to you. With these 4 bars, I decided to emphasize on where the rhyme scheme is happening. Number one is because it's a multi-syllable rhyme, right? With multi-syllable rhymes, with those multi-syllable rhymes is where you need to emphasize, right? That's where I kind of like to do them. I hope that answered the question.
No, that makes sense. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. But great job, man. MashaAllah, khushallah.
Jazakallah. So we'll do a quick exercise over here. This is yet again by my brothers in 7 Concept. They wrote a really amazing track. The reason why I like this track is the brother wrote this track with the 40 hadith. So he literally went through the 40 hadith and he obviously didn't write it word for word, but he took it verbatim and made it rhyme. So really, big shout out to my brother in 7 Concept for coming up with this. And I'm always inspired by these guys. Yet again, listen to them. I feel like whatever poetic style you take, you can always benefit from them. So let's try identifying the rhyme pattern. Yet again, we went through a monorhyme where it's just A. Then we went through A, and we went through A, B. So over here, it's you can take a different path, but believe in the one. Remember, paradise lies beneath the feet of your mom. Help out your neighbors and never expect favors. Only have hope in Allah. He is the savior. So who wants to take a shot at it? What kind of rhyme scheme is going on? Where is it rhyming over here? I think my brother Hora has been quiet throughout this. I know. You want to take a shot?
You, brother. I got you, Zayd. So we got a rhyme scheme going on believe in beneath, right? And then one and mum. And then obviously, so one thing that you're referring to, I think, which is a key element that everyone should know is, as you said, there's a style of saying things, right? But I think us living in the United States or North America, and you pulling up a very interesting piece from UK, we know their accent is day and night difference, right?
Yeah.
So when you pulled up freedom and free them, for us, it seems like, free them and free them. For them, it's pretty much the same word. If you look at the Baltimore accent, you've seen that little meme or whatnot, where it says iron.
Yeah.
So there's a huge accent difference too. So a lot of what you mentioned is obviously on point. So over here, going off of that, you can take a different path, but believe, beneath, and then one and mum, and then in the second couplet, after moving from the AA, you got help out your neighbors and never favors. Only have hope on Allah, He is the savior. So obviously you can imagine they're gonna pronounce it totally different. and spell it differently as well. Y'all got the U, we don't got the U.
Yeah, no, amazing job. And I think what we can do is that even I think when we recite a lot of classical poetry in English, we recite it as if it's like Victorian English, right? So when we have T's in North America, we pronounce the T kind of like a D, right? However, when we're reciting classical poetry in English, we pronounce the T, we say ta, right? And so I think what we can do is that we can incorporate different accents, and then incorporate that within pronouncing different words, right? So yeah, that's a very, very good observation. So the things that are rhyming over here is believe in the one, and then beneath the feet of your mom. So believe, beneath are both rhyming. Believe and feet are still both rhyming. And then one and mum is still rhyming. So this over here is AA, right? And then how about your neighbors and never expect favors? Only have hope in Allah, He is the Savior. So favor and savior, they're BB, right? Because they don't rhyme with the first two bars. And what's rhyming within this bar is neighbors, favors. And then yet again, savior is something that's coming in to rhyme with that as well. We'll do the last exercise, inshallah. So this is going to be an A-B pattern. And, I want you guys to kind of brainstorm if you want to take like 2-3 minutes, or maybe we can formulate it together. I want to do an A-B pattern, and I've given you the first two lines. So yet again, this is about whoever you want it to be about. It's about a ma'sum. We're approaching their shrine, right? And when you're approaching their shrine, your heart's getting heavy, right? Your tears are coming in your eyes, and the tears are so heavy, it's like they're feeling like blood. And as we know that, when the A'imma would cry for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, they would cry tears of blood. So over here, we have an A-B. My soul elevates as I approach your dome. Heart's getting heavy like the blood from my eyes. So who wants to try formulating this over here with A? I'll actually step out of this so we can edit this. So my soul elevates as I approach your dome. Now we need something that goes with the first bar, which is going to be A. Come on, this is your guys' chance to showcase your poetic skills. Give me some ideas, even if you don't have rhymes. My soul elevates as I approach your dome. What makes you want to write on that?
I'm in a comfort state because I know that I'm home. So I'm driving. That's just off the top of my head now.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. You know what's crazy? Freestyle that, but that's actually on beat as well, right? Because when I'm reciting this has 4 beats to it as well. So that's really nice. So my soul elevates as I approach your dome. Heart's getting heavy like the blood from my eyes. I'm in a comfort state because I know that I'm home. Now we need the last one. We need a B. Heart's getting heavy like the blood from my eyes. What makes you want to write when your heart's getting heavy and you feel like there's blood from your eyes? For those who have gone to ziyarah, when you're approaching the shrine of the Ma'sum, what's coming to your head? Your heart's getting heavy. You're crying from your eyes. What's that making you feel? What do you feel like doing from that? What makes you want to write more on your heart getting heavy and you're crying? I'm gonna give it a shot. Let me see. Heart's getting heavy like the blood from my eyes. So now what's coming to my mind is I'm talking about tears. So I'm gonna continue talking about the tears. What are those tears doing?
We should to get the recordings of all the virtual workshops that we've done so we can upload them on YouTube, and I'll create a new playlist for.
Heart's getting heavy like the blood from my eyes. Each tear that drops. Who wants to finish this off? Each tear that drops.
Hold up, I'm cooking.
It doesn't even have to be this. You can think of a completely separate line.
I'm cooking. I love that. He's in the lab.
He's in the lab.
I was born in the lab, brother.
That's what I like to hear.
Call me a lab baby.
What I was thinking. My soul elevates as I approach your dome. Heart's getting heavy like the blood from my eyes. I'm in a comfort state because I know that I'm home. Each tear that drops purifies me inside. All right. That can be one. Or have you thought of a bar?
I'm trying to narrow it down to 5. Look. Palms feeling sweaty sitting on palms feeling sweaty.
Palms feeling sweaty, yeah?
Yeah, palms feeling sweaty while sitting on my lies.
Sweaty. As I'm
Palms feeling sweaty as I'm sitting on my lies.
sitting on lies.
Sitting on my lies. So I think I'm shortening up a bit. So
Yeah,
heart's
because
getting
sitting on my lies wouldn't go with rhythm. So we want to.
Right. Heart's getting heavy like the blood in my eyes. Heart's getting sweaty.
As I'm facing my lies. All right. Because you're feeling nervous over here. Right. You're in front of the imam, but you know you sinned, you made mistakes, you've lied in the past. So your palms are feeling sweaty in the state. Why? Because now you're facing your lies. You're here looking to repent. So maybe that can be another bar in there.
But
Right?
here's the meaning that I'm saying, right? So facing my lies is beautiful, but sin on your lies, you like brush someone on the rug, right? When you're facing him, I'm like, yo, hey, mom, I don't got no lies, and they sitting under you like a big old cushion, you know what I mean? So, but yeah,
palms feeling
like
sweaty as I sit on my lies instead of sitting on my lies. Because remember, we need 4 beats in that bar, right?
4 beats in the yes, sir.
So palms feeling sweaty as I sit on my lies. Amazing. Ahsant. Good job. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I hope that was effective. I hope everyone learned even a small drop, inshallah. And, forgive me if I said anything out of line, or inshallah, if you benefit, please pray for me and all the brothers and poets of the household for getting this together and organizing. Inshallah, if you have any questions, I think they have my Instagram handle. You guys can, ask questions over there. Anything you want to discuss about the specific poetic form, we can discuss that, inshallah. Jazakallah.